Hey guys, this is your host Thomas Tyree here from On the Hot Podcast. Today, I have some bonus content for you guys. The bonus content we'll be covering today will be in the sport of football inside the NFL world. In today's bonus segment, I'll be sharing my thoughts on the Baltimore Ravens signing Jaire Alexander to a one-year contract to become the newest member of the Baltimore Ravens. So yesterday afternoon, we saw that Jaire Alexander signed with the Baltimore Ravens to a one-year, $6 million contract with the Baltimore Ravens franchise. The deal also includes $2 million in incentives. We'll probably see that as the season goes on. If Jaire Alexander needs a few more stats to pad his pockets for incentives as the season goes on to possibly make a total of $8 million for the season. But I'll be sharing my thoughts on Jaire Alexander signing with the Baltimore Ravens. Personally, I think this is a great signing by the Baltimore Ravens, getting Jaire Alexander this late into the NFL offseason, and we're just 2-3 months away from the NFL season, and this was a big splash, a big free agent signing. I know Jaire Alexander is a gamble. He's been dealing with injuries over the last 2 years, but this man still has gas left in his gas tank and is still a tremendous corner in the National Football League when he's available and healthy. And the Ravens defense has just gotten better with the signing. They also got better in the second half of the NFL season last year. They improved in the second half in points allowed per game, total yards per game, and passing yards per game. So this Baltimore Ravens defense is trending in the right direction, especially with this signing now. But the defense, if Jaire Alexander can stay healthy, look out in Baltimore, because they got Roquan Smith at linebacker. They got Kyle Van Noy, also a part of the defense. Now you have a trio of defensive backs that are very talented at Baltimore. You have Nate Wiggins play on the outside along with Jaire Alexander. You now have Marlon Humphrey play in the nickel as the nickel cornerback. And the safeties, they just drafted Malachi Starks, safety from Georgia, and you have Kyle Hamilton. So this defense is going to be really good. Zach Orr is going to have one hell of a time dialing up the plays on the sideline for the Baltimore Ravens for this defense. I think it's not a hot take at this particular point, because when you look at the Ravens roster-wise, offensively, defensively, it's not a hot take to think that they can have a top 5 unit in both offense and defense on both sides of the ball next year, because they already have Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, so many offensive players, talented-wise, and then the defensive names that I just mentioned that are going to be a part of this Baltimore Ravens defense. I think they're going to have a great year in Baltimore. They're already the co-favorites for sports bettors to be they are the co-favorites to win the Super Bowl on FanDuel, along with the Buffalo Bills starting at a plus 700. So I think the Baltimore Ravens could have a tremendous season. And again, this was a gamble, but Jaire Alexander, if he can stay healthy, this is going to be huge for this Baltimore Ravens defense moving forward. And truthfully, did the Ravens need Jaire Alexander? No, they didn't, because the defensive backs, like I just said, you still could have had Nate Wiggins and Marlon Humphrey play on the outside, but now that you have Nate Wiggins and Jaire Alexander play on the outside, with Marlon Humphrey playing in the nickel, with already the really good safety duo that's going to happen in Baltimore with Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks, this defense is going to really be hard to handle, and opposing offensive coordinators are probably going to stay up at night losing sleep of how to attack this defense that started to pick it up, especially in that back end, the second half of the 2024 regular season. So I think this is going to be really good, but they didn't really need Jaire Alexander, but his skill set for a player like this, a former two-time All-Pro, to hit the market like this in the month of June, and you got to go all in for him. And shout out to their quarterback, the franchise quarterback Lamar Jackson, who was all in to get his former college teammate and Jaire Alexander. They both played at Louisville for the Cardinals in their collegiate days. Both were drafted in the 2018 NFL Draft. Lamar Jackson recruited his guy, and now Jaire Alexander is a part of this Baltimore Ravens team. They didn't need him, but when a guy like that is out there in the middle of June, a few months away from the NFL season beginning, in a loaded AFC conference, you could get it doesn't help to get all the help that you can get. And I believe that Jaire Alexander does have gas left in his gas tank. He's only 28 years of age, but the injuries have just derailed him over the last few years. A really good cornerback, really good football player, really good football IQ, ball hawker, could still be a lockdown cornerback for any team in the National Football League, and he's good at tackling in open space. And this is everything that you want for the Baltimore Ravens. But I really think this signing is going to benefit them, and hopefully he can stay healthy, because I want to see what this defense looks like when everybody is healthy on the field, flying around, all 11 guys being on the same page on every given Sunday, Thursday, Monday, whenever they suit up and play. I think this is great for the Baltimore Ravens. Now, there's always two sides to the story when a player gets released and then picked up by another team. So the reason why I do believe the Green Bay Packers did move off of Jaire Alexander, it's not the worst thing in the world that they released this guy, because he was one of, if not the highest player, a part of the Green Bay Packers organization, and he was unavailable majority of the time of the last 2 seasons, and they actually saved a total of $17.1 million in cap space, releasing him after June 1st, a move that everybody expected around the National Football League. So this was no surprise when I seen the news that the Packers released Jaire Alexander, and I think even Jaire Alexander knew his time in Green Bay was coming to an end. But both Green Bay Packers and Jaire Alexander could not come to terms on a structured contract, and the Packers, they were willing to pay $16 million to Jaire Alexander for this upcoming NFL season, because that's what he would have made in Green Bay, over $16 million on that deal. But he's only the thing is with the Packers is, I understand the frustration. I understand moving away from him, because your best defensive player only playing 14 games in the last 2 seasons, that hurt the defense. And when you look at the numbers in the win-loss column with Jaire Alexander in the lineup for them over the last 2 years, they went 10-4 in the lineup. But then when he was out of the lineup and the frustration started to build up, I'll get to that in a second. But the record without him, they had 10 wins, 10 losses. And the frustration would build up when you're already game planning throughout the week how you want to use your players and strategize for the opposing teams. And then you get the injury report Friday that your best defensive player is not going to be in the lineup. That would frustrate anybody part of the National Football League for this ongoing sequence that happened for 2 years with your best defensive player being out of the lineup. And he's eating up a big chunk of cap space, a part of this Green Bay Packers team. So I understand both sides. I understand that the Packers wanted to move off of him and not trade him, but cut him and release him. And I understand the Baltimore Ravens signing him. So I think both teams won in this scenario. There was no trade involved, obviously, but this is a win-win for both teams. The Packers can start fresh and probably find their star cornerback for the sake of the future. There's always a guy named Jalen Ramsey that the Miami Dolphins could trade, could end up in Green Bay with the Packers. We'll see. But I think this is beneficial for both teams moving forward, but I definitely want to see how Jaire Alexander and healthy Jaire Alexander plays with this Baltimore Ravens defense. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. This is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off, and I'll see you guys on next week's episode.